Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you are continuing to stay safe and well, and appreciate you creating some time for chatting with us this afternoon. We're really privileged to have with us Max Burt, class of 2014. Max, welcome, and thanks for spending some time with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
It's good. So the nice part, Max, for me is, the shorter the picture image now with the larger picture, we can't really see that Yankees logo on your shirt.
Yeah,
This is kind of
I can bring this down if you want me to. I'm
the
going.
There we go. I think this is the first time that I've spent a long period of time talking to somebody affiliated with the Yankees. So I'm swallowing a great deal of Red Sox pride, but I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you. One of the questions Max, we've kind of tossed out to everybody is, as you look back and kind of where you are today, and you look back on where you are today and what happened with St. John's. Can you think a little bit about how St. John's has been a positive influence in your journey, kind of in post St. John's and into your life as a professional baseball player now?
Yeah, I mean, the prep kind of, I mean, you hear this all the time, but the prep kind of shaped me to who I am right now. You see so many things the prep, whether it be sports, your friends, education, all that kind of stuff, where really it attracts you to different types of people, and you become friends with kids you didn't really think you'd be friends with at first. And just throughout my whole process, obviously I came into St. John's Prep. I mean, it goes back all the way to when I was in 8th grade and I did my shadow day, and I followed Brian Pino around, who's now actually with
Sure.
who is playing the NHL right now. So I got in the car with my dad after, and I said, Dad, I'm going here. This is it. Like, I can see myself here. This is it. I'm going here. It's just, everybody says the brotherhood, like it's the brotherhood, but it truly is. Everybody was friends. Everybody's joking around with each other. There's no really bad blood between anybody. So once I saw that, I just wanted to be a part of it. And, that built throughout my years. And I've, obviously coming in from a really small, I was like 5'2", maybe $120 soaking wet as a freshman, kind of growing physically throughout my career at St. John's Prep, and then growing, as a person as well, and building friendships that, I still will have to this day, and then probably throughout my entire lifetime. So
Sure.
the prep shaped me, and I wouldn't be here. I know I wouldn't be on this call if it wasn't for my time at the prep. So
That's awesome to hear. It's been great to see you kind of grow from that scrawny little freshman to where you are today, and kind of going through 4 years at St. John's, then playing baseball at Northeastern. As you look at your career and the challenges you faced as a student and as a student athlete, what are some of the bigger challenges you faced, and how have you been kind of inspired to overcome those challenges and meet with success? I mean, especially kind of breaking into professional baseball, which I'm sure is no easy feat.
yeah, I mean, obviously going back to St. John's Prep, school was no joke. The teachers challenged you, and they always kept you on your toes and stuff like that. And I can go back and I remember all my teachers and all the kind of things they did. So for me, a big thing was time management, and I maybe learned that the hard way at first when I had to make some sacrifices. But obviously at St. John's Prep, sports is a big thing, but school comes first, and you got to make those sacrifices. And that just kind of made me even work even harder. So
Sure.
if you're set behind the 8 ball in school, that can set you behind the 8 ball in sports. So you got to stay up on that school, so you can even put in that more effort when it comes to athletics and sports at St. John's Prep. So just that time management skills, like being aware of when you have to do things. And I took that, what I learned at St. John's Prep, and I was ready to go when I got to college, because I went through all my hard times at St. John's Prep, and then when I got to college, it was easy. So
Sure. No, that's great. Um, there's a lot of mystique about what the world of baseball is like, whether minor league or major league baseball. Can you talk a little bit about, when we're not in the midst of a global pandemic and we're actually able to be out seeing people and doing things kind of when, before all this started? What was your life like, last season as someone who's kind of going to different levels of minor league ball and having, great opportunities, and can you just talk about your day-to-day experiences as a minor league ball player?
yeah, so leading up to spring training, kind of in the off season, kind of doing what I got to do. So I graduated school this past fall, so the fall of 2019. So I was living in Boston, taking classes and doing what I had to do there. And then, and it can be hard at times because I was technically done school baseball at Northeastern.
Okay.
So, so I kind of had to do a lot of stuff on my own. And this was like where I wasn't with a team. So I didn't like have to go to practice. It was kind of just more on me. All right, what are you going to do to put the work in?
Great.
Um, and yeah, so then throughout my off season, just kind of lifting, hitting, doing all that kind of baseball stuff. And then once I graduated school and really, got to move back home and um, made that routine even like it was very structured as far as I wake up early, drive to go lift, come home, eat lunch, go hit, relax for a little bit, and then maybe even go hit later that night. And then once I got to the season, so last year was my first spring training, and that was great. I mean, I got to see everybody, everybody because obviously I only saw the kids I play with right after the draft in 18. I went to a short season team. So when I got to spring training, I got to see basically the entire Yankees organization all the way up to the top, the Aaron Judges and stuff like that. So that was cool just to be able to see them work, and really nothing really changed on my end. I stayed true to who I am, hardworking, gritty type player that is going to get down and dirty on the field. So I did that throughout spring training, then broke camp with the Charleston River Dogs, which is our low A team. And then from there, was kind of off to a slow start there, and then kind of came back and went to the Tampa Tarpons, which was high A. So they called me up after not doing well. So I was like, what's going on here? And then they ended up, so I struggled again for another week up there. So then they sent me back to the extended spring training just to kind of work on my swing. And that was where I met Troy Tulowitzki, a guy I kind of looked up to going up. And it was just me and him in a cage for 40 minutes, and just got to hit batting practice with him. And that was, he didn't really say much throughout the whole thing. And then at the end, he kind of just told me one thing he saw about my posture and wanting to stay upright and, stay behind the baseball. And then once he said that, I played in one game after that and hit a home run and a base hit. And then literally that night, one of our player development people called me and said, hey, you're going back to Charleston. And then I was then in Charleston for another 2 months last year after that, and then ended up getting called up to the Trenton, the Double-A Trenton team. And just with all the injuries up top, my name was called, and I kind of ran with that opportunity, and then finished the year, and we won the championship up in the Eastern League in Trenton. And I remember you came and saw me play in Portland, which was pretty cool. So.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to see you play the Portland Sea Dogs. When you look at kind of that experience you just shared, and a lot of ups and downs, and kind of the challenge of kind of working on the swing, and how do you what's your advice for kind of high school students today when it comes to resilience and kind of dealing with the natural ups and downs, and how did you deal with them, and what advice would you give our students today?
Well, I actually went back to something I experienced at St. John's Prep, which not many kids that I play with now experience. So my junior year, when I was on the varsity team for baseball, we had a loaded team with Brandon Bingle, Bergoli, Tommy Bonapane. That team was loaded, and I ended up playing only half the games at shortstop. I played 10 games at shortstop. And when I played shortstop, I got DH'd for because Bingle was a shortstop pitcher. So that was nothing. That was something I've never really done before. Like, I'm just playing the field. I'm not hitting. So that was something that I took to heart at first. And basically after that season, I said, that's never going to happen again. I'm not going to let that happen again. So I kind of would always go back to that, and just that would kind of motivate me to, don't let anybody do that to you ever again. Not that, because there was kids that were better than me, so it was what had to be done. But that was something that was tough at first, but then I got through it, and it's something I can go back to in pro ball. So hey, you got the age for it, and you worked your way up to here. Like, all right, you can get it to one more gear and work even harder. So, but it's something that never changed throughout this whole process. And I think this is the most important thing is, me believing in myself. You could have asked me when I was 4 years old to 10 years old to 15 to now 23, are you going to play in the big leagues? And the answer is going to be the exact same throughout the whole process. And that's yes. So I don't really care how I get there. I know I'm going to get there, and my path will just be a little bit different. So.
You mentioned kind of the spring training experience of being with the full Yankees experience. What's it like to kind of, be with these guys who are big names who, we have a chance to see 162 games during the year, and kind of you're on the same field wearing the same uniform with these guys. I mean, what's that experience like?
Yeah, I mean, I had some great experiences this past spring training. Obviously, we were cut a little short, but I actually got to play in 5 of the big league games
Nice.
up big boys on TV. So being able to share a locker room with those guys, guys like Luke Voigt and those big name guys and Clint Frazier, guys to see on TV, and it's like, wow, like these guys are just normal guys, but like you see them on the major light, and they're famous as hell.
Right.
So I think something that like was really cool for me was when we were in the locker room against the Braves, and they were showing highlights on ESPN of what the Yankees are going to be like this year, and they kind of going through players that were in the clubhouse, and I was just like, it just kind of was really cool to be a part of, because obviously they were all watching the TV and stuff like that, so it was just cool to see that, and hopefully one day I can be a part of that. So.
That's awesome. That's great. As you look back, Max, on your St. John's prep experience, kind of the 4 years you had at 72 Spring Street, what's something you think if you had a chance to do it over again, you'd repeat and do differently?
That's a good question. And I'm not sure I would do much different. I learned you learn a lot about yourself at the prep, whether that be through struggles or the ups you have there. And I think if you go back and you make everything great, then who knows where you'd be after that. I think you got to learn from those downtimes, and yeah, it's going to stink when you're in the moment right then and there, but when you look back at it, it's going to be like, if I didn't go through that, maybe I wouldn't be here now. So I don't think I would actually change anything. Maybe if anything, maybe I'd play golf my freshman and sophomore year.
Okay.
So,
There you go. That might have had an
no,
impact on your swing at the plate, but
yeah, no, I know. I always say that my baseball swing messes up my golf swing. So
your golf swing. Good. And if you think back to your prep time, and then just before I ask you this question, just going to remind the people that are listening, if you have questions that you want to throw out to Max, feel free to use the questions feature on the webinar platform. So if you're watching us on a smartphone or an iPad, there's a question mark on the bottom of the screen. You can kind of tap that question mark, and you can put your question out there, and they'll get it to me, and I can ask Max for you. If you're using a desktop computer, just use the questions tab over on the right side. So feel free to kind of send those in. Max, what are some of the best memories you have from St. John's when you think back of the time? You talked about the brotherhood at the beginning, but what are some of the best experiences that you remember at St. John's?
yeah,
I mean, aside, of course, from interacting with your favorite principal and headmaster who was there at that time.
he was okay. Yeah, he was okay. Anyway, I think people want to hear about winning championships and getting to the Super 8, playing in big time games. Obviously, my freshman year, I was a part of that state championship winning basketball team with Pat.
Sure.
And those are great memories there. But I think what the best memories for me are the things that the outside people, the prep, don't really see, whether that be, lunchroom with all your boys, classroom with a bunch of with great teachers and your friends and stuff, and you're making jokes, and it's just lighthearted fun. And I think that's something that people on the outside don't see, going to the lunchroom during your free period and stuff like that. So that's the time that you build your relationships, and that's the time that I use to build my relationships. So I think those are the memories that I'm always going to remember throughout my process, is those lunchrooms, classrooms, class projects, having fun with those, with a lot of creativity and stuff like that. So those are the things that, along with all the sports and all the relationships I've made during those. But I think, going back to, the lunchroom and hanging out with the guys, joking around, making jokes. So that's what I remember the most. So
Kind of, you wouldn't use these words, but just kind of the best part was the common, ordinary, everyday experience of St. John's, just kind of being there and being connected with your group.
Yeah, walking to class, trying to hide your hoodie from Dean
Yeah,
Richards, all
that doesn't happen anymore. All prep students abide by the dress code right now. So
that. Exactly.
although the dress code right now is basically pajamas because everybody's at home doing remote learning, so it's a little
True.
different. So we had a bunch of questions come in. I'm gonna put them out there from a bunch of different people. But when you look at baseball minor leagues, somebody's asking, is kind of one of the toughest grinds in sports. It's a long season. You don't get all the accommodations and luxuries of kind of the big league guys. How do you keep your morale up and stay disciplined in the midst of that grind?
Yeah, it's good. That's a good question. Obviously pro ball is a little different from college baseball, where you have your really close friends in your team, and when you play a game, you can go back to your apartment and kind of hang out. Where pro ball, you're on your own a lot. So I think for me, it's just finding a good group of guys and surrounding yourself with people that have the same path as you, because there can be some people in pro ball that only care about themselves. Where if you find a good group that care about each other, that can make your time so much better. And I've been lucky enough to surround myself with those type of people, and it makes going to the ballpark 140 days out of 150 days a great time for me. And even when you're feeling down, you have those guys to pick you up and stuff like that. So but yeah, so I would say that's my
good
reason.
It's just kind of surround yourself with good people, and you guys can kind of support each other even in the midst of the grind. It's kind of funny for someone like me to look at it and say that kind of what you're doing day to day and playing baseball, that's your job, and in the same way that my job can be a grind, yours can be a bit of a grind as well.
Exactly. I think that too. That's a huge thing. Not only baseball, that's a huge thing in high school too. Surrounding yourself with people that have the same goals as you. If you start surrounding yourself with people that maybe are heading off in the wrong direction, then you can maybe find yourself going towards them. So it's about surrounding yourself with people, and good things will happen. So
I promise this isn't a question that's coming from me, but it's coming from someone who's got kind of my same sensibilities. So when you look at yourself as someone who grew up in Boston, how can you possibly reconcile playing for the Yankees organization given your history in Boston?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, so throughout the whole draft process, I really had a really good relationship with the Yankees scouts. So in the back of my mind, I was always playing this over my head, saying, what if this happens? Like, this is going to be crazy. A team that I despised growing up, and now is going to be my But honestly, when the call happened and I got drafted, all that kind of went out the window, and I was just so grateful to get that opportunity. And honestly, looking back, I wouldn't want to be picked by any other organization. Just seeing how the Yankees go about things, and obviously it's tough getting some slacks from some family members and stuff like that and friends. But I think eventually, if they haven't already, everybody's going to start coming around to the good side. So my good side, our good side, I should say.
You went to Zavarian but worked at St. John's Prep now, so I kind of understand that a little bit. There's a lot of people that harass me on a regular time. Do you get harassed by kind of people on the Yankees organization being from Boston and having a connection to the Red Sox?
Yeah, like every interview I do, it's oh, you're from Boston. How's it like playing for the Yankees? So that's something that I've been it's something that everybody always asks me. So yeah, it's all good stuff.
So there was a question that came in. So they're looking for your affirmation on this, but the Red Sox are the best team in your mind, right? No pressure. We'll skip that one.
I can't comment on that. Yankees are going to win the World Series.
That's a good answer. So another one that somebody who might have a little bit of knowledge, but heard you took chorus at St. John's Prep. You want to talk a little bit about your experience as a student in chorus class at St. John's?
Yes. I was actually it was when I got called up, and I think my parents were talking to Pat Connaughton's parents one day, and that's when they said that, yeah, like Pat does chorus before school. And so my parents brought it by me. I'm like, I'm not going to do chorus. What are you guys talking about? So then I found out I had a couple friends in it. You have Bingle, Vin LaRevere, and Matt McGilvery, a couple of friends. I had a bunch of friends that were in this course. I was like, all right, I'm gonna give that a try, because if you take that before school, then you'll get an extra free period during the year. So I ended up taking it my sophomore year. So I did my freshman year. I started my sophomore year, and then I kind of, I joke with people. I'm a very versatile singer. I started as a tenor, and I graduated as a bass. So I went all the way through the whole process. So no, that was awesome with Mr. Hamill, and we've built a lot of great. I built a lot of great relationships through that. Obviously Ben is one of my best friends from St. John's. So
Sure.
actually, our year in the winter concert, we got to do a duet together. So
Nice. That's
that was
awesome.
that was pretty
Kind
cool.
of blending academics, the arts, and athletics all together. That's awesome that it all
But
worked out.
I will not sing for you here, so don't get any idea.
We were gonna set it up. You could do that.
All right.
So there's a family out there that knows you. You've worked with somebody named Anthony who took lessons, and they're singing your praises and talking about what a great person you are. We're psyched to see you play last year in Tampa, but didn't get to see you this year because of the pandemic. But um, the he's really hopeful that Anthony decides to go to St. John's, which I'm sure Anthony will make that decision because it's a
You
good place
will.
to go to. But um, your hard work. Can you talk a little bit how the prep experience really helped develop and instill the work ethic that you have and the work ethic that kind of has continued to help you achieve some great success?
Yeah, I mean, I learned like I've I've always had pretty good work ethic that was installed me by my parents growing up, but seeing the kids at St. John's Prep, seeing peers that were just like me kind of pushed me even more. So I think that St. John's Prep has so many different types of kids that can push you in so many different type of ways. So I think that me deciding, I mean, like I told you before, I got in my car and I said, Dad, I'm going here. I
Right.
saw that right away, and I said, I see myself here. I can see myself interacting with these kids, and yeah, it's just seeing others work hard, and that pushes you to even work hard even
Sure.
more. And I think like me feeding off kids and then kids feeding off me, I think that kind of makes a great environment for everybody to be around because it's not just one person relying on one person. It's kind of everybody relying on each other to get the job done and to
Sure.
be the best person they can possibly be.
That's awesome. Yeah, Max, a lot of all of our students right now are kind of home. They miss the day-to-day life at St. John's. There's a lot of questions about kind of when things are going to resume and go back to normal. How do you stay motivated and kind of what are you doing to stay in shape with workouts at home with everything that's going on with social distancing? How are you staying focused and motivated and what are you doing to stay in shape?
So I'm actually here in Texas. I moved in with one of my friends in the Yankees organization. I'm living here with four of us actually, who all play with each other this past year. All of us in the same draft class, and he bought a house this past off season. We were going to plan to come here next off season, and then obviously with this virus going around, things happened a little bit sooner, and so we just kind of decided to come here, and we have some weights here in the garage, and we go to the field right down the street here. We get and we just get to get our work in every day. Essentially, we're almost treating this like it's our off season. Getting after it on that day-to-day basis, and it's good. And like I said, surround yourself with people that want to have success just like you, and that's what we got here in this house. So
Sure.
everything's going great. And then one thing I can add to that is there's some people can pick the negatives, and yeah, it's not great. We're not going to school. We're not playing baseball. Sports aren't happening. But you got to try and look at it and as positive as light as you can. Because everybody's going through the situation. It's not just you. It's not just your school. So you got to try and use this time to better yourself in some sort of way, whether that be become more organized, which is what I need to do. I need to get a little bit of Mary Burt back in my life. So um, picking something, that's my challenge to, I guess, people watching this and people in St. John's Prep is to, pick something during this time that maybe you wouldn't be focused on if this wasn't going on, and try and get better at that, and get better every day, and that will pay off when this is all said and done.
That's awesome. So two more questions, Max. Kind of these are looking at kind of more the first one's looking at the balance between academic and athletics. You talked a little bit earlier about one of the things you learned at St. John's was time management. And obviously mom was pretty organized as you gave her a shout out there and said you need a little bit more of Mary Bird in your life for organization. But there's a huge demand on time for academics and athletics in high school and in college, especially. What are some specific strategies that you had or ideas that you have about managing your time as kind of some of our guys are going through that right now and looking to go through that down the line?
Yeah, I think this is something I can go back to even before St. John's Prep, and then really this happened during the prep. Growing up, my dad would always say, work first and then you can have your fun later. So that was something, oh, you want to go to your buddy's house? All right, well, you got to do this list of things first and get this done, because this is what means something before you have your fun. So I think that's something too that I've taken, here in pro ball and stuff like that. If you kind of want to relax and watch your shows, get your work done first and then have some fun later. So, getting what needs to be done first, not so much so you're getting it out of the way, but really, dedicating your time to things that matter most and get that done first and then have your fun later. So that's something that, I did at the prep, whether that be, getting your schoolwork done, getting all that stuff done, and then you can go work out and work on sports and stuff like that. So get your work done first, and then you can have your fun later.
Awesome. I lied before. There's going to be this question and one more. I'll wrap it up. But when you look at your college process, one of our students is asking, when you made your decision for college and you went through your process, was the process guided by athletics? Was the process guided by academics? How did you kind of balance those two areas out?
So my process was obviously a little bit different because I was planning on doing a post-grad year. Okay. And I was going to go to either Phillips Exeter or Phillips Andover just because I was a young senior. So me personally, sports was kind of going to get me to the school, but I needed to be going to a good school as well. So it wasn't all sports, like I was going to go to a great sports school and a bad education school. It was more, you're going to use what you have in sports to get into a school, but that school is going to be a good school. So that's kind of what drove me. And then obviously when I got waitlisted at Phillips Exeter, Phillips Andover, didn't really know where I was going when I crossed graduation at St. John's Prep. And then Coach Glav at Northeastern kind of came in late, and it just kind of worked out. It worked out perfectly. And I got into a great school, and I used my baseball to get a great education and a great degree from Northeastern. So
that's phenomenal. Some good perseverance, and despite the fact that kind of things didn't go your way at the beginning, there's still kind of that focus on the goal and focus on kind of making sure that good things were going to happen.
Definitely.
Max, one of the things we talk a lot about at St. John's, and Dr. Crowley, our principal, talks a lot about is this concept of servant leadership, of kind of influencing any situation we encounter for the benefit of others. Can you reflect a little bit on kind of how that lesson or that part of the prep culture has impacted you, and maybe how you model servant leadership and using your platform as a member of the Yankees organization and somebody who's playing pro ball?
Yeah, servant leadership. I'm gonna kind of look at that main term. That's leadership in general. And there's so many different ways to lead. Whether that be you do everything the right way and people kind of follow your lead if you're not so much vocal. Where me, I'm more of a vocal guy where I'll talk and I'll let people know things that have to be done. So there's so many different ways. You don't have to fall into that. People say, oh, you can only be a captain, you can only be a leader of something if you're loud and talk a lot. But you can be a leader in so many different ways. If you're quiet but you're organized and you do everything the right way and you get things done and people follow you, that's a great leader as well. So, that's something that I learned at the prep, because there was people that I encountered, of captains I encountered that maybe weren't so vocal, but they did things the right way. And it's like, all right, we're following this kid's lead. We're going to follow his lead. Same thing in the classroom as well with group projects and stuff like that. Someone that kind of just takes the lead and you just follow them, and lead in your own way. Don't so much fall victim to just doing what people say. Be your own leader. When there's 4 people that are a leader in their own way, good things are going to happen, and great projects in school are going to be done, great teams are going to be made, and championships can be won. So leadership is something that I've known for my whole life, and really I learned a lot about leadership as it was one of our words my 4 years there at St. John's Prep.
Well, Max, I really appreciate your time and really appreciate your willingness to reconnect with us, and your prep pride is still really strong, and you've done some great things, and we're really proud of kind of all your accomplishments, and wish you really well as you move forward. And hope that at some point in time, baseball does come back and we're able to kind of have a season, and hope for our student athletes at St. John's that we're able to, maybe salvage some type of a spring season out of this. But hope you stay safe, hope you stay well. Good luck, play well, play hard, and do great things. And we'll continue to look and see what great things are happening for you. Thanks, Max.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. This was awesome.
Awesome. Thanks. And for everybody else who's listening, just pay attention to Eagles Update. We're going to have a bunch of live Since You Asked next week during April break week, and you'll have the opportunity to meet a bunch of other prep alums who are doing some great things. Have a great rest of the day. Thanks, Max. Take care. Peace.
Take care.